I dropped my husband off at the airport thinking it was just another business trip. But just as I was about to leave, my 6-year-old son squeezed my hand tight and whispered, "Mom, do not go back home. This morning I heard Dad planning something very bad against us. Please, this time, believe me." I believed him, and we hid. And what I saw next sent me into a panic. But before I continue, make sure you are subscribed to the channel and write in the comments, where are you watching this video from? We love knowing how far our stories are reaching. The fluorescent lights of O'Hare International Airport were hurting my eyes that Thursday night. I was tired, with that kind of tiredness that comes from within, you know? It is not just sleepiness, it is an exhaustion of the soul that I had been dragging around for months without really understanding why. My husband, James, was by my side with that perfect smile he always wore in public. Impeccable charcoal suit, leather briefcase in hand, expensive cologne that I had bought him for his last birthday myself. To the eyes of anyone in that terminal, we were the ideal couple. He, the successful executive, me, the dedicated wife dropping him off before an important business trip. If they only knew. By my side, with his sweaty little hand holding mine firmly, was Leo, my 6-year-old son, my whole world. He was too quiet that night, quieter than usual. And mind you, Leo was always an observant child, one of those kids who prefers to watch rather than participate. But that night there was something different in his eyes, a fear I could not name. "This meeting in Seattle is crucial, babe," James said, pulling me in for a calculated hug. Everything about him was calculated, only I did not know it yet. 3 days at most, and I will be back. You will handle everything here, right? Handle everything. As if my life was just that, holding everything together while he built his empire. But I smiled. I smiled like I always smiled, because that was what was expected of me. "Of course, we will be fine," I replied, feeling Leo squeeze my hand even harder. James crouched down in front of our son. He put both hands on his shoulders. In that way he always did when he wanted to look like the perfect father. "And you, champ? Will you take care of mommy for me?" Leo did not answer. He just nodded, his eyes fixed on his father's face. That look was as if he were memorizing every detail, every feature, as if he were seeing James for the last time. I should have noticed. I should have felt that something was wrong right there. But we never notice the signs when they come from the ones we love, right? We think we know the person, that after 8 years of marriage, nothing can surprise us. How naive I was. James kissed Leo's forehead, then mine. "I love you guys. See you soon." And then he turned around. He took his carry-on and walked toward the gate. Leo and I stayed there, standing in the middle of that crowd of goodbyes and reunions, watching him disappear. When I finally could not see James anymore, I took a deep breath. "Come on, son, let's go home." My voice came out tired. I just wanted to get home. Take off these uncomfortable heels I had worn to look more presentable, and maybe watch something on TV until sleep came. We started walking down the long airport corridor, our steps echoing on the floor. Leo was even quieter now, and I could feel the tension in his small body through the hand holding mine. "Everything okay, sweetie? You are very quiet today." He did not answer immediately. We kept walking, passing by the closed shops, the flight schedule boards, the rushed people pulling suitcases. It was only when we got near the exit, when the automatic glass doors were already in sight, that he stopped. He stopped so abruptly that I almost tripped. "Leo, what is wrong?" It was then that he looked at me. And, God, that look. I will never forget it. It was pure terror. That kind of fear that a 6-year-old child should not even know. "Mom," he whispered, his voice trembling. "We cannot go back home." My heart did a strange jump in my chest. I crouched down in front of him, holding his 2 little arms. "What do you mean, no, honey? Of course we are going home. It is late. You need to sleep." "No!" His voice came out louder, desperate. Some people turned their heads to look at us. He swallowed hard and continued, now in an urgent whisper. "Mom, please. We cannot go back. Believe me this time. Please. This time." Those 2 words hurt me, because it was true. Weeks ago, Leo had told me he saw a strange car parked in front of our house. The same car, 3 nights in a row. I told him it was a coincidence. Days later, he swore he had heard Dad talking softly in the office about solving the problem once and for all. I told him it was business matters, that he should not listen to adult conversations. I did not believe him. And now, he was begging me, with tears starting to form in those little brown eyes. This time, believe me. Leo, explain to me. What is happening? My voice came out firmer than I felt inside. He looked around as if he were afraid someone might hear him. Then he pulled my arm, making me lean even closer to him, and whispered in my ear. This morning, very early, I woke up before everyone else. I went for water and heard Dad in his office. He was on the phone. He said that tonight, when we were sleeping, something bad was going to happen, that he needed to be far away when it happened, that we were not going to be in his way anymore. My blood froze. Leo, are you sure? Are you sure of what you heard? He nodded, desperate. He said there were people who were going to take care of it. He said he was finally going to be free. Mom, his voice. It was not Dad's voice. It was different, terrifying. My first instinct was to deny it, to say it was imagination, that he had misunderstood, that James would never. But then I remembered things, little things I had ignored. James increasing the life insurance 3 months ago, saying it was just a precaution. James insisting that I put everything, the house in the suburbs, the car, even the joint account, only in his name. It helps with taxes, babe. James getting angry when I mentioned I wanted to go back to work. It is not necessary. I handle everything. The strange calls he answered, locked in the office. The increasingly frequent trips. And that conversation I heard by accident 2 weeks ago. When I thought he was asleep, he was murmuring on the phone. Yes, I know the risk. But there is no other way. It has to look accidental. At that moment I convinced myself it was about work, about some risky business deal. But what if it was not? I looked at Leo, at that terrified face, at the tears rolling down, at the trembling hands, and I made the most important decision of my life. Okay, son, I believe you. The relief that passed through his face was instant, but it lasted little. So, what are we going to do? Good question. My brain was racing. If Leo was right, and every cell in my body was starting to scream that he was, going home was a death sentence. But where to go? To whose house? All our friends were James's friends too. My family lived in another state. And what if I was wrong? What if it was all a terrible misunderstanding? But what if it was not? Let's go to the car, I decided. But we are not going home. We are going to keep watch. From afar. Just to be sure, okay? Leo nodded. I took his hand again, and we walked toward the parking garage. My heart was beating so hard I could hear the blood pulsing in my ears. Every step seemed to weigh a ton. The cold night air hit me as we left the terminal. The parking garage was dimly lit, with only a few scattered cars. Ours was in a corner, a silver sedan that James had insisted on buying last year. A safe car for my family, he said. Safe. What a bitter joke. We opened the car and got in. I buckled Leo in, then myself. My hands were shaking so much it took me 3 tries to start the engine. Mom? Leo's voice was small in the back seat. Yes, my love? Thank you for believing me. I looked in the rearview mirror. He was shrunk in the seat, hugging the dinosaur backpack he took everywhere. I am always going to believe you, son. Always. And in that moment I realized I should have said that before. I should have listened to him from the beginning. I drove in silence. I did not go straight home. I took an alternate route, a parallel street that overlooked our street without us being easily seen. I found a dark spot between 2 large trees and parked. From there we could see our house in the suburbs. Everything seemed normal. The streetlights illuminated the sidewalk, our well-kept lawn, the porch where James and I drank coffee on Sundays, the window of Leo's room with the Batman curtains he had chosen. Home, our home. Or at least that was what I thought. I turned off the engine and the car lights. Total darkness, total silence, except for our breathing. And now we wait, I whispered. Leo said nothing. He just kept looking out the window, eyes fixed on the house, and so we stayed, waiting. not knowing that in less than an hour, everything I thought I knew about my life was going to crumble. The clock on the dashboard marked 10:17 at night when I started to question if I was not being completely ridiculous. There I was, hiding in a dark street with my 6-year-old son, staking out my own house as if we were spies in a bad movie. What kind of mother does this? What kind of wife suspects her own husband of? Of what, exactly? I could not even form the complete thought in my head. It was too absurd. James never raised a hand to me, never yelled at Leo. He was a present father, a provider husband. But was he a loving husband? The question came out of nowhere and caught me off guard. When was the last time he looked at me with real affection? That he asked how my day was and really wanted to hear the answer? That he touched me without it being mechanical, automatic? When was the last time I felt loved, and not just maintained? "Mom, look!" Leo's voice pulled me out of my thoughts. My heart raced. What? What did you see? There? That car? I followed the direction of his small finger. A car was turning onto our street, but it was not just any car. It was a dark van, without any decals, no visible front license plate. The windows were tinted, so dark it was impossible to see who was inside. The van slowed down as it passed in front of the houses. Too slow to be someone just passing through. It was like it was looking. My breath got caught in my throat when the van stopped. Exactly in front of our house. "It cannot be," I whispered. "It cannot." But it was. The 2 front doors opened. 2 men got out. Even from afar, even with the poor lighting, you could see they were not technicians or delivery guys or anything normal. They wore dark clothes, hooded jackets, and the way they moved was furtive, calculated. They stood for a moment in front of our driveway, looking around. My instinct was to scream, call the police, do something, but I was paralyzed, watching as if it were a nightmare from which I could not wake up. One of them, the taller one, put his hand in his pocket. I hoped he would pull out a crowbar, some tool to force the entry. That would be a burglary. I could deal with a burglary. I could call the police, file a report, move on. But what he pulled out of his pocket made my world come crashing down. A key. He had a key to our house. "Mom," Leo's voice trembled. "How do they have the key?" I could not answer. I was too busy trying not to throw up. The man opened the front door as if he were the owner, without forcing, without breaking. He simply opened it. And then the other man walked in. Another key. The door opened smoothly. Only 3 people had a key to our house. Me, James, and the spare key that was in his office in the locked desk drawer. The 2 men entered my house. Into the house where I slept yesterday, where I made breakfast for Leo this morning, where I felt safe. They did not turn on the lights. I could see beams of flashlights dancing behind the curtains. They were looking for something. Or worse, they were preparing something. I do not know how long I sat there, frozen, watching. It could have been 5 minutes or 50. Time had lost meaning. All that existed was that vision. 2 strangers inside my house, with keys that only my husband could have given them. Then I smelled it. At first I thought I was imagining it, but it got stronger. A chemical smell. Strong. Gasoline. "Mom, what is that smell?" asked Leo. And that was when I saw smoke. It started small, just a thin thread coming out of the living room window, then another, from the kitchen window. And then I saw the glow. That sinister orange glow that can only mean one thing: fire. No. I got out of the car without thinking. No, no, no. Leo's hand pulled me back. "Mom, no, you cannot go there." He was right. I knew it. But it was my house. My things. The photos from when Leo was born, the wedding dress stored in the closet, the drawings Leo made and I stuck on the refrigerator, the blanket my grandmother knitted before she died. Everything. Burning. The flames grew fast, terrifyingly fast. In a matter of minutes, the living room was totally engulfed. The fire licked the walls, broke the windows, climbed to the 2nd floor where Leo's room was. That was when the sirens started. Someone must have seen the smoke and called the fire department. The dark van sped off, without turning on the lights, disappearing around the corner seconds before the first fire truck appeared. I was shaking so much I could barely stand. Leo was hugging me from behind, his little face buried in my back, sobbing. Leo was right. I murmured. You were right, son. You were right. If we had gone back home, if I had not believed him, we would be in there now, sleeping, unknowing, and those men would have, it would have. I could not complete the thought. My legs gave way, and I fell to my knees right there, in the middle of the dark street, watching my life turn into ashes. My cell phone vibrated in my pocket. With trembling hands, I picked it up. It was a text message from James. Babe, I just landed. Hope you and Leo are sleeping well. Love you guys. See you soon. I read the message once, twice, 3 times. Every word was a knife. Every heart emoji was poison. He knew. Of course he knew. He was in another state, building his perfect alibi, while hiring people to kill us, to burn us alive while we slept. And then he would return as the devastated husband, the grieving father. He would cry at the funeral. He would receive condolences. And he would keep everything. The life insurance, the house, or what was left of it, the bank account, free. That was what Leo heard him say on the phone. I am finally going to be free. Free of me. Free of his son. The nausea came with force. I turned around and threw up right there on the sidewalk. Everything I had in my stomach came out, along with any illusion I still had about my marriage. When I finally could stop, I wiped my mouth with my sleeve and looked at Leo. He was sitting on the curb, hugging his knees, watching the house burn. Tears rolled down his little face, but he was no longer sobbing, just watching. A 6-year-old child should not have that expression, that terrible and premature understanding that people who should love you can want to hurt you. I sat beside him and pulled him into a tight hug. I am sorry, I whispered into his little head. I am sorry for not believing you before. I am sorry for everything. He held on to me, as if I were the only solid thing in a world that had turned upside down. And maybe I was. What are we going to do now, Mom? It was the million-dollar question, was it not? What do you do when you discover that the man who promised to love and protect you actually wants to see you dead? We could not go back home. There was not even a house to go back to anymore. We could not go to the police. James had an ironclad alibi, and it was just me and the word of a 6-year-old boy against his. We could not go to friends or family. Everyone would think I was crazy, in shock from the fire, making things up. And James was free, flying back at that very moment, probably practicing the expression of shock and sadness he was going to use when he discovered the tragedy. We needed help. Help from someone James did not know. Someone who could understand. Someone who knew how to deal with. With what? Attempted murder? Conspiracy to kill? It was then that I remembered. My dad, before dying 2 years ago, had given me a card. It was on a difficult day, right after his cancer diagnosis. He called me to the hospital room, took my hand and said, "Sarah, I do not trust that husband of yours. I never trusted him. If one day you need help, real help, find this person." The card had a name. Attorney Catherine Roberts, lawyer, and a phone number. At that moment I was offended. How could my dad not trust James? James, who was so attentive to him, who visited him in the hospital, who paid for the best doctors. But now I understood. My father saw something I refused to see, and he left me a way out. I picked up the cell phone again. The battery was at 23%. I needed to make a decision fast. "Leo, do you remember that card Grandpa gave me? The one I kept in my wallet?" He nodded. "I am going to call the person on it. She is going to help us. At least, I hoped so." With trembling fingers, I dialed the number. 3 rings. 4. It was going to go to voicemail when a female voice, raspy but firm, answered. "Hello? Attorney Catherine. My name is Sarah. Sarah Miller. You do not know me, but my father was Robert Miller. He gave me your number. I need a lot of help." There was a pause. Then, "Sarah, Robert spoke to me about you. Where are you?" My house just burned down. I am on the street with my son. And my husband tried to kill us." Another pause. Longer. When she spoke again, the voice was different, more urgent. "Are you safe now? Can you drive?" "Yes." "Then write down this address." Attorney Catherine's office was in an old building in downtown Chicago. The kind of place you pass by without noticing. It did not have a flashy sign, just a small, faded placard. K. Roberts. Legal counsel. It was almost 12 at night when I parked in front. The street was deserted, only a few streetlights working. Leo had fallen asleep in the back seat during the drive, exhausted from crying so much. I had to carry him in my arms. Before I rang the bell, the door opened. A woman was there. She must have been about 60, gray hair pulled back in a bun, glasses hanging from a little chain. She wore a simple blouse and jeans, as if she had been woken up. But her eyes were alert, analyzing every detail of me and Leo. "Sarah?" "Yes." "Come in, quickly." I obeyed. She locked the door behind us with 3 different locks. The office smelled like old books and strong coffee. There were piles of files everywhere, old archives, a table full of papers. "Put the boy on the sofa over there," she indicated. "There is a blanket on the chair." I laid Leo down carefully. I covered him. He was still sleeping, his little face still marked by tears. "Coffee?" she offered. I was going to refuse, but she was already pouring 2 cups. She handed me one and pointed to the chair in front of her desk. "Sit down and tell me everything, from the beginning. Omit nothing." And I told her about James's trip, about Leo's whisper at the airport, about the decision to hide and watch the house, the men with the keys, the fire, James's message feigning concern while knowing we should be dead. Catherine did not interrupt me a single time. She just listened, fingers interlaced under her chin, eyes fixed on me. When I finished, she remained silent for a long moment. "Your father asked me to look after you if something like this happened," she said finally. "Robert was a very smart man. He noticed things about your husband that you did not want to see. That hurt, but it was true. He knew James was capable of this. He suspected James was not who he pretended to be, that he married you for interest, that he was dangerous." She took a sip of the coffee. "Robert left me some things, documents, information about you and about James. I thought I would never need to use them, but..." She got up and went to a locked cabinet. She pulled out a thick folder and returned, putting it on the table between us. "Your father hired a private investigator 3 years ago, discreetly, to check James's businesses." My heart shrank. And what did they find? Debts. Lots of debts. Gambling, mainly. "Your husband has a serious problem, Sarah. He owes loan sharks, illegal casinos, very dangerous people." She opened the folder, showing bank statements, photos, reports. "His businesses have been bankrupt for 2 years. He has been using the money from the inheritance your mother left to plug the holes. But it is almost all gone." I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. My mother's inheritance, $50,000 she left me, that I put in a joint account because we were married, babe. What is mine is yours. He spent it all. Every last cent." She turned a page. "And now the lenders are collecting, with interest. James owes almost $200,000. People like that do not negotiate, Sarah. Either he pays, or..." She did not need to finish the sentence. "But I do not have that money. We do not have it. So, why did he?" "Life insurance," she said simply. "You have a life insurance policy of $2 million. Your father insisted on that when you got married. Remember? He said it was important to protect you and a future grandchild." I remembered. I remembered James thinking it was exaggerated at the time, but accepting. I never questioned, I never thought. And if I died in an accident, I continued the reasoning, feeling bile rise to my throat. James would receive the $2 million. Pay the debts, be free. Exactly. Catherine closed the folder. "And a fire is the perfect type of accident. Hard to prove it was arson. Hard to trace. And he has the perfect alibi. He was in another state when it happened, but I did not die. And Leo did not either. And he does not know that yet." The way she said that made something click in my head. "You are suggesting that you let him think the plan worked, for now." She leaned forward. "Sarah, if you show up now, it will be his word against yours. Do you have proof? Witnesses? Anything other than the story of a 6-year-old boy who could have misunderstood a conversation?" I had nothing, just the certainty in my heart and the fear in my son's eyes. But what about the men who burned the house? Is the police not going to investigate? They will. And they will conclude it was an accident, a short circuit, a gas leak, anything. Those men are professionals, Sarah. They do not leave traces, she sighed. James planned this very well. The only flaw in his plan was that Leo heard, and that I believed him. Exactly. I looked at my son sleeping on the sofa, so small, so innocent, and yet he had saved our lives. So, what do? I cannot just disappear. My documents, my ID, everything burned in the house. I have no money. I have nowhere to go. You have me, said Catherine. And you have something James does not know you have. What? She smiled. A cold smile that made me see why my father trusted her. The truth, and time to prove it. James will return tomorrow. He will pretend to be devastated. He will put on a show for the police and the neighbors. He will look for the bodies. And when he does not find them, he will know something went wrong. Yes, but by then, we will already be 10 steps ahead. I did not fully understand what she meant. But I was too exhausted to question, too exhausted to think. I could barely keep my eyes open. You and the boy will stay here today, she decided. There is a small room in the back. It is not much, but it has a bed. Tomorrow we will plan the next steps. Catherine, why are you doing this? Why help this much? She stayed quiet for a moment, looking at some point beyond me, lost in some memory. Robert saved my life once, a long time ago. When my own husband tried to kill me, she returned her gaze to me. I know exactly what you are feeling now, Sarah. The shock, the betrayal, the fear. And I promised your father that if you needed me, I would be here. It is a debt I have the pleasure of paying. I swallowed the tears that threatened to fall. Thank you. Do not thank me yet. The game has just begun. I slept for maybe 3 hours, but it seemed like 3 minutes. I woke up with Leo shaking me, scared, asking where we were. It took me a few seconds to remember. And when I remembered, reality fell on me like a bucket of cold water. My husband tried to kill me. It did not matter how many times I repeated that in my head. It still seemed unreal, surreal, as if it were a nightmare I was going to wake up from at any moment. But it was not, and the morning news proved it. Catherine knocked on the door of the small room at 7. Turn on the TV. Channel 5. There it was. Fire destroys house. In luxury subdivision. Fate of family still unknown. They showed the house, or what was left of it. Just black walls and smoking debris. Firefighters still working, sorting through remains. And then they showed him, James, getting out of a taxi in the middle of the confusion, with an expression I recognized, the one he used when he rehearsed important speeches in front of the mirror. Calculated concern, measured horror. My wife, my son. For the love of God, someone tell me they were not in there. He was screaming at the camera, at the police officers, at anyone who would listen. The reporter explained that he was traveling for work, that he had just landed and had come straight to the scene. A desperate husband, looking for his missing family, narrated with that deep news anchor voice. I felt Leo shrink beside me. He is lying, whispered my son. He is pretending to care. And he was. You could see if you looked closely, the way he checked the cameras before collapsing in tears. How his eyes were dry, even with his hands covering his face. How he asked the firefighters, "Did you find the bodies yet?" With an urgency that was not of someone who has hope, it was of someone who needs confirmation. He wanted to make sure we were dead. Catherine turned off the television. He will look for the bodies all day. When he does not find them, he will start to suspect. We have maybe 24 hours before he realizes you escaped. And then? Then he will panic. And people in panic make mistakes. She sat on the edge of the bed. Sarah, I need you to tell me. Do you know the combination to the safe James has in the office? I thought for a moment. I know it. It is his date of birth. Too obvious. But it works. Does he keep important documents there? I think so. I never paid much attention. We need those documents, especially if he is stupid enough to have kept something that connects him to the men he hired. But how? The house is surrounded by police now. It will be for a few hours, but at night, when he goes to the hotel, Because he will not want to sleep in a burnt house, we can go in. I looked at her as if she were crazy. You want me to break into my own house? Technically, it is not trespassing if you live there. She smiled in that cold way again. And besides, we are going to need proof, evidence, something solid that proves James planned this. It made sense. A terrifying sense, but it did. I'm going with you, said Leo suddenly. No way. You are staying here? Mom, I know where Dad hides things. His voice was small but determined. There are places you do not know. I know because I watch. I always watch. And he really watched. My quiet son, whom everyone thought was shy, was actually incredibly attentive. He noticed things I missed. You are right, Catherine agreed. Kids see what adults ignore. If there is something hidden, he will know where to look. I did not like the idea. I did not want to expose Leo to danger again. But I also knew we needed evidence, and time was running out. The day passed slowly. We stayed locked in the office, watching the news, watching James put on his show. He gave interviews to 3 different channels, always with the same story. A devastated businessman looks for his family, a father's hope. The anguish of not knowing. Lies. It was all a lie. Through the subdivision's security cameras, which Catherine had access to through a contact, we watched James being taken to the precinct to give a statement. We watched him return and stand in front of the destroyed house for hours, talking to neighbors, with police, with whoever appeared. And then, finally, when the sun began to set, we saw him get into a car and leave. Now, said Catherine. She gave me dark clothes, gloves, a small flashlight. She did the same with Leo. We looked like burglars about to commit a robbery. And, in a way, that was exactly it. We drove in silence to near the subdivision, but we did not enter through the front. Catherine knew a passage in the back where the wall was lower and there were no cameras. Perks of having defended the developer in the divorce, she explained. We scaled the wall. Well, she and I climbed. We passed Leo over. On the other side it was dark. The smell of smoke was still strong. 20 minutes, whispered Catherine. Go in. Take what you need. Get out. I will stay watching here. I took Leo's hand, and we walked to the house. Or what was left of it. The back door, the kitchen one, was partially burnt but could still be opened. We entered. God. The destruction was total. The black walls, the partially collapsed ceiling, the smell of ash and chemicals. Everything that was my life was destroyed. But we did not have time to mourn. The office, I whispered to Leo. Where is it? He guided me, passing through the destroyed living room, climbing the precarious steps of the stairs. James's office was on the 2nd floor, and miraculously it had not burned as much as the rest. The door was stuck, but I managed to force it. The safe was there, embedded in the wall behind a painting. I punched in James's birth date. Beep, green, open. Inside were documents, a lot of cash, probably for illegal payments, and an old cell phone. Take everything. Leo's voice sounded from the other side of the room. Mom, look here. He was pointing under a loose floorboard, a hiding place I would never have known existed. I lifted the board. Inside was another cell phone, a black notebook, and an envelope. I took everything in a hurry, stuffing it into the backpack I had brought. Let's go, fast. We were almost at the door when we heard it. Voices, downstairs. Are you sure there is no one? Yes, the police already cleared the site. We are just checking. My blood froze. I looked at Leo. He was pale. We could not go down. Whoever it was blocking our only exit. I grabbed Leo in my arms, and we got inside the office closet. My heart was beating so hard I was sure they would hear us. Through the crack in the closet door, I could see the light of flashlights coming up the stairs. 2 men. They were not police. I recognized the voices. They were the same men who had burned the house. The boss said to verify if the job was completed, said one of them. Deep voice. It seems they still have not found bodies. Impossible. The fire was strong enough so that nothing remained. Maybe they already took them to the coroner. Better to make sure. Take a look at the bedrooms. I heard footsteps separating, one going toward the master bedroom, another coming in our direction. The office door opened. Leo squeezed my hand so hard it hurt. I bit my lip not to make any sound. The man entered, the flashlight beam sweeping the room. It stopped at the open safe. "Hey, Mark, come see this." The other one appeared. "What happened?" "The safe is open. It was not like this when we left." "Are you sure?" "Absolutely. We did not even touch the safe. We just set it on fire and left." Tense silence. "Someone was here," concluded the one named Mark. "Recently, the dust around it is disturbed. Do you think it was the police? The police do not steal money. And look, there are footprints. Small ones." He pointed with the flashlight to the floor. "Too small to be an adult." My stomach sank. "Child," said the first man slowly, "do you think—" "I think we have a problem." Mark took a cell phone out of his pocket. "I am going to call the boss. He needs to know. I could not allow it. If he called James, if he told him someone had been there, that possibly it was us. But what could I do? I was locked in a closet with my 6-year-old son, unarmed, trapped." It was then that I heard the scream. It came from outside. A female scream, loud, of terror. "What the hell was that?" Mark bolted down the stairs. The other man went after him. I did not waste time. I took Leo in my arms and ran. I went down the stairs so fast I almost tripped. The back door was open. They must have entered through there. We got out. We ran to the wall. Catherine was there, panting. "Was it you who screamed?" I asked, while helping her jump the wall. I needed to get them out of there. "Did it work?" "Yes." I showed her the backpack. I took everything. We ran to her car, parked 2 blocks away. Only when we were inside, doors locked, engine on, and driving away, could I breathe. "Those men saw that someone touched the safe," I said. "They will tell James." "Excellent." I looked at her as if she were crazy. "What do you mean, excellent? Now he will know you are alive. He will know you have the proof. He will panic." She smiled while driving. "And people in panic do stupid things." I do not know if I agreed with her logic, but I was too exhausted to argue. Back at the office, we emptied the backpack on the desk. Documents, cell phones, money, the black notebook. Catherine took the notebook first. She opened it. She started reading, and the more she read, the wider her smile became. "Bingo," she murmured. "What is it? Is your husband meticulous or was he dumb?" "Probably both." She turned the notebook toward me. "Look at this. Dates, amounts, names. He documented every cent he borrowed, from whom and when he had to pay. He even has notes about conversations with the lenders." I scanned the pages. Everything was there. Every debt, every threat he received. And then, on the last pages, final solution, I read aloud, "Sarah's life insurance, $2 million. The accident has to look natural. Contact Mark. Fee, $50,000, half up front. Date, November 21st. It was today. Or rather, it was yesterday." "He wrote everything down," I whispered in disbelief. "Why would anyone do that?" "Insurance," explained Catherine. "If something went wrong, he could use this as leverage against the guys he hired. Prove that they were also involved." She took one of the cell phones. "And I bet that in these cell phones, there is even more evidence. Conversations, calls. It took all night to examine everything. The cell phones were password protected, but Catherine had a contact who managed to unlock them, and everything was there. Messages between James and Mark. It needs to be a day I am traveling. Solid alibi. It has to look accidental. Fire is good. Hard to trace." "And the kid?" Mark had asked. "Also, no one can be left. Also, James had written coldly about killing our son, as if he were a minor detail, an inconvenience to solve." I felt the hate grow inside me. A cold hate. Sharp. I was no longer the woman who had married believing she had found love. I was a mother protecting her son. And mothers are dangerous when their children are threatened. "Is this enough to arrest him?" I asked. "Enough to arrest, convict, and throw away the key," confirmed Catherine. "But we need to do it right. If we hand this to the wrong police, James has enough money and connections to make it disappear. Or worse, to make you guys disappear. So, what do we do?" She thought for a moment. "I know a detective. Honest. Incorruptible. From the homicide division. If we present the case to him, with all this proof, James has nowhere to run. When? Tomorrow morning. But before that, she looked at her cell phone. Your husband has already tried to call you 7 times in the last hour and sent you 15 messages. I picked up my cell phone. It was on silent, but the screen lit up with notification after notification. Sarah, for the love of God, where are you? Babe, I am desperate. Please answer me. The police said they did not find your body. Where are you? Are you hurt? Sarah, answer me. And the most recent one, sent 5 minutes ago. I know you are alive and I know you took the things from the safe. We need to talk. Urgent. The mask had fallen. He knows, I said. Perfect. Answer him. What? Are you crazy? Answer him. Tell him you want to meet him. In a public place. Tomorrow morning. Why? Catherine smiled. That smile I learned to fear and admire at the same time. Because we will give him a chance to hang himself. I wrote the reply with trembling fingers. Millennium Park. Tomorrow, 10 in the morning. Come alone. James's reply arrived in seconds. I will be there. Sarah, we need to talk. Things are not what you think. They are not what I think. As if I were the crazy one in the story. As if I had not seen 2 men burning my house with my own keys. Perfect, said Catherine. Tomorrow morning, you will meet him. But you will not be alone. She explained the plan. It was risky, maybe insane, but it could work. The detective she knew, Detective Miller, agreed to help when she called and explained the situation. He would put people in plain clothes in the park, wires, cameras. All we needed was to make James confess. He is never going to confess knowing he can be recorded, I argued. He does not need to confess with words, she replied. He just needs to act, and desperate men always act. That night I could not sleep. I kept imagining the meeting, what I would say. How would I look into the eyes of the man who tried to kill me and pretend normality? Leo slept beside me, finally at peace after days of terror. At least one of us could rest. At 9:30 the next morning, we were positioned. Me sitting on a bench in Millennium Park, with a coat with a built-in microphone. Leo safe in the office with Catherine, watching everything through cameras the police installed. Detective Miller and his team scattered around the park, disguised as homeless people, street vendors, people walking their dogs. And then I saw James. He appeared promptly at 10 in the morning. He wore wrinkled clothes, probably the same from yesterday, deep dark circles, unshaven beard. For the first time since I met him, he seemed human, vulnerable, but I knew the truth. He saw me and practically ran. Sarah, thank God. Are you okay? He tried to hug me. I stepped back. Do not touch me. The mask slipped for a second. I saw rage in his eyes before returning to express concern. Babe, I know you are scared, but you have to listen to me. Listen to you? Listen to you say what, James? That it was all a mistake? That the men who burned our house with our keys were just thieves? He blinked, calculating. You? You saw? I saw everything. I was there. Leo and I. We saw everything. He went pale. He looked around, nervous. Not here. Let's go somewhere private. I am not going anywhere with you. I kept my voice firm, although my heart was racing. Speak here, now. Why did you try to kill me? I did not. It was not like that. He ran his hand through his hair. Sarah, you do not understand. I am in trouble. I owe a lot of money to very dangerous people. They threatened you. They threatened Leo. So you decided to kill us first? What logic is that? No, I was going to get you out of the country. With the insurance money, we could start over somewhere else, far from those guys. It was such a blatant lie that I almost laughed. Are you talking about the insurance that only pays out if I die? He froze. He realized the mistake. Sarah. He changed tactics. The voice became threatening. You took things from my safe. I need you to give them back to me. Now. The black notebook? The evidence that you planned everything? You do not understand what you are doing. If you hand that to the police, I go down. And if I go down, the guys I owe will go after you. Either way, you are not safe. But at least it won't be you trying to kill me. The rage finally exploded. You were always so naive. Do you think I married you for what? For love? You were a spoiled girl with mommy's money. It was just for that. That hurt. Even knowing it was true, it hurt to hear it. And Leo? Our son was also just for interest? The brat. He spat the words. He was always weird, too quiet, watching everything. Weird kid. And there it was, the true hatred. It was not just for money. He really despised us. It was when I heard, coming from the earpiece in my ear, "We have enough, team. You can go." Suddenly, the homeless people got up. The vendors dropped their stands. Everyone converged on James with badges in hand. "James Roberts, you are under arrest." His face went through 5 emotions in 3 seconds. Shock, confusion, rage, fear, and finally, acceptance. He had lost. But before they could handcuff him, he did something no one expected. He ran. He sprinted through the park, knocking people over, jumping benches. The police went after him. But he had a head start, and he was running in my direction. I did not have time to react. He grabbed me, pulled something from his waist, a knife, and pressed it against my neck. "Nobody move," he yelled. His voice was unrecognizable. "Or I kill her. I swear I will kill her." Detective Miller stopped 3 meters away, hands raised. "Calm down, James. You do not have to do this. Of course I do. She ruined everything, everything." The blade pressed harder. I felt a thin trickle of blood run down. My brain went into panic, but then I remembered Leo, my son watching everything. I could not let him watch me die. "James," I said, trying to keep my voice calm, "you are not going to do this. Do not tell me what I am going to do or not going to do. You are not going to do it because you are a coward. You have always been one." I turned my head a little, looking him in the eyes. Cowards do not kill while looking. They hire other people, and even in that you failed. The knife trembled in his hand, and in that second of hesitation something happened. A shot, not to kill, to incapacitate. A sniper I had not even seen hit James's hand. The knife fell. He screamed in pain, and in seconds he was on the ground, handcuffed, surrounded by police. I fell to my knees, shaking. Detective Miller helped me up. "It is okay. It is over." But it did not seem like it was over. Nothing seemed real. I watched James being dragged to the squad car. He was screaming, kicking, threatening. "This does not end here, Sarah. You are going to pay. You are going to pay." Empty. All his threats were now empty. James's trial was fast. With all the evidence, the notebook, the cell phones, the recordings of our meeting, the testimony of the men he hired, who made a plea deal, there was no possible defense. They tried to plead temporary insanity. They tried to say he was being coerced by the loan sharks. They tried everything. It did not work. James was sentenced to 25 years in prison. Attempted aggravated homicide, twice. Arson. Fraud. The list was long. I did not go to the trial. I did not want to see his face ever again. But Catherine did. She sent me a message when the sentence came out. Justice was served. Justice. The word seemed strange, because it did not seem fair that 8 years of my life had been a lie. It did not seem fair that my son had to grow up knowing his own father wanted to kill him. But at least, we were alive and free. In the following months, I had to rebuild everything, literally everything. Documents, identity, bank account, home. I got access to the house insurance money. Ironic, since James had burned it to get another insurance payout. It was not much, but it was enough to start over. Catherine helped me with all the paperwork. More than that, she became a friend, maybe the first true friend I had. "Your father knew I was going to need you one day," she told me one afternoon, drinking coffee in the new apartment I rented. "He made me promise I would look after you." How did he know? About James? A father's intuition. She smiled. Or maybe he saw things that you, in love, did not want to see. Little signs. The way James looked at your family's money, how he asked about inheritances, how he got irritated when you talked about working. He was right. The signs were always there. It was me who chose to ignore them. Leo was going to therapy. At first, he did not want to talk about what happened. But with time, little by little, he began to open up. The therapist said he was resilient. Children are stronger than we imagine. But even strong, he had nightmares. He woke up screaming, saying there was fire, that he could not get out. that his dad was coming. On those nights, I stayed with him. I hugged him. I sang him the songs I sang when he was a baby. And little by little, he went back to sleep. "Mom," he asked me one night, a few months after the trial, "do you still love Dad?" The question caught me off guard. "Why do you ask that?" "Because he was bad, very bad, but he is still my dad. And I do not know if it is wrong to miss him sometimes." My heart broke. I pulled him into a tight hug. "It is not wrong, my love. He is your dad. And the part of him you knew, the part that played with you, that took you to the park, that part was real, or at least you believed it was, and there is no problem in missing that. But he tried to hurt us. He tried. And that was horrible and unforgivable. But your feelings are yours. You can miss the dad you thought you had and still be angry about what he did. Both things can exist together." He stayed quiet for a while. Then he whispered, "I saved you, right, Mom? You saved. You saved me and you saved yourself. You are my hero, Leo." He smiled. A small but genuine smile. And in that moment I knew we were going to be fine. Not immediately, not magically, but eventually, I started working again. Something James never allowed. I got a job at a nonprofit that helped women victims of domestic violence. It seemed appropriate. I understood what they went through, the fear, the shame, the feeling that somehow it was their fault, and I could say, from the heart, "It is not your fault. It never was." Catherine offered me a partnership in her firm after a year. "You have talent for this, and passion. It would be a waste not to use it." I accepted. I went back to school. I did an accelerated law program. I took the bar exam. It was not easy. At 34, going back to the books is challenging. But I passed, and I became a lawyer, specializing in family law and domestic violence cases. I used the pain to help other people, and in a way, that helped heal my own pain. 3 years after the fire, we moved into a real house. Small, simple, but ours. Leo chose his own room. He painted the walls blue, but no Batman mom. I grew up. He filled it with posters of astronauts. "When I grow up, I am going to be an astronaut," he announced. "Or a scientist. I still haven't decided." I laughed. "You can be both." "Really? Can you do that?" "You can do anything you want, son." And I believed that, because we had survived the impossible. What was a little ambition compared to that? Every once in a while, I thought about James, mainly when I signed the divorce papers, which he contested, of course, but lost, or when I saw news about him in prison. Apparently he was not adapting well. Did I feel pity? No. Rage? Sometimes, but mostly nothing. He had become irrelevant. A footnote in my story, not the main chapter. Life went on. Leo grew up. I grew up with him. I learned to trust again. Not blindly, never blindly again, but with wisdom. I learned that red flags exist for a reason, that listening to your intuition is not paranoia, and I learned that sometimes the people we love the most are the ones who can hurt us the most. But I also learned that we can survive that, and even grow. Today marks 5 years since that night at the airport. 5 years since Leo whispered, "Do not go back home," and changed our lives forever. I am sitting on the porch of our house, drinking coffee. Leo, now 11, is in the living room doing homework. It is Saturday, but he likes to get ahead on work. "Mom!" he yells. "Can I go to Luke's house after lunch?" "You can, but be back before 6. "Okay." I smile at my coffee. He has friends now. Good friends. He stopped being that quiet and scared boy. He is still observant. He always will be. But he also laughs, plays, lives like every child should live. My cell phone rings. It is Catherine, or rather, Kate. We dropped the formalities a long time ago. "Good morning. You got up early today." "I have news," she says. I can hear the smile in her voice. "Remember that case we took last month, Fernanda?" "I remember. 40-year-old woman, abusive husband, 3 kids, no money to leave the house. We did it. Protection order approved. She and the kids are already in the shelter, safe." I close my eyes, feeling that warmth in my chest. That is great. That is really great. That is why we do this, right? For these moments? Yes. We hang up and I stay there, thinking, how many women have we managed to help in these years? How many children did we save? Not in such a dramatic way as Leo and I were saved, but saved nonetheless. From toxic relationships, from abuse, from dead-end situations. We transformed our tragedy into purpose. Mom? Leo appears in the doorway. Can I ask you something? Always. He sits on the chair next to me. He is bigger now, growing too fast for my taste. Soon he will be taller than me. Are you happy? The question takes me by surprise. I am. Why? He shrugs. I just wanted to know. Because of everything that happened, I thought maybe you would stay sad forever. I take his hand. It is not so tiny anymore. I was sad for a while, yes. And I still get sad sometimes, when I remember. But I am also happy, because I have you. I have a job I love. I have real friends. I have a life I chose, not that someone chose for me. And Dad, did you forgive him? That one is harder. I do not know if I forgave him. Forgiving does not mean forgetting or saying everything is okay. Maybe it is more letting go, not carrying that weight anymore. And in that, yes, I think I succeeded. He nods, processing. I think so too. I do not think much about him. Just sometimes, when I remember how it was before. But then I remember that that was not real, and it becomes easier. What wisdom for an 11-year-old boy. But Leo never was an ordinary child. He grew up too fast. He saw too many things. But he survived. And more than that, he bloomed. I love you so much. Did you know? I tell him, hugging him. Me too, Mom. He hugs me back. Then he lets go. Can I go back to homework? I only have math left. You can. He goes back inside and I stay there, on the porch, watching the sun rise in the sky. I think about how strange life is. 5 years ago, I was losing everything, or believing I was. The house, the marriage, the security. But actually, I was gaining something more important. Freedom. Freedom to be myself. To make my own decisions. To build a life based on truth, not pretty lies. And yes, it hurts. Sometimes it still hurts. There are nights I wake up sweating, dreaming of fire. There are days I see a man from afar who looks like James and my heart races. The trauma does not disappear completely. We learn to live with it. But we also learn that we are stronger than we imagine, that we can survive the unimaginable, that we can rebuild from the ashes. Literally, in my case. My phone vibrates again. Message from the support group I coordinate for domestic violence survivors. Thank you for the meeting yesterday. For the first time I felt I am not alone. I reply. You never were, and you never will be. We are in this together. It is for these messages that I do what I do, because I know what it is to feel alone, trapped, with no way out. And I know what it is to find a hand extended when you need it most, like my father gave me when he left me Catherine's card, like Catherine gave me when she took me in, like Leo gave me when he had the courage to speak. Even being so small, we do not save ourselves alone. We need each other, and now I give back. I extend my hand to other women who are where I was, and I lift them up. The sun has risen completely now. A new day, a new opportunity. I get up. I go inside the house. Leo is at the table, concentrated on the numbers. He does not notice when I approach and kiss the top of his head. Mom! He protests, but he is smiling. I'm trying to concentrate here. Sorry. I won't bother you anymore. I go to the kitchen to make lunch. Something simple. Pasta with marinara sauce. Leo's favorite food. While I stir the sauce, I hear him humming in the living room. Humming. A child who witnessed an attempted murder, who lost his home, who saw his father get arrested. He is humming while doing his math homework. If that is not resilience, I do not know what is. And it gives me hope. Hope that no matter what life throws at us, we can survive. We can overcome. We can even be happy again. Not in the same way. Not like we were before, but in a new way. Stronger. Wiser. The oven timer rings. I turn it off. I start serving the plates. Leo, lunchtime. He comes running, as he always does when it is food. He sits at the table with that wide smile. What is for dessert? Ice cream. If you eat all your food first, I can do that in my sleep. We laugh. We eat, we talk about the week, about plans for the weekend, about the science project he is doing at school. Normal things, normal life. And it is beautiful, after all. It is beautiful to have that normality again. After lunch, Leo goes to his friend's house. I wash the dishes, I tidy up the house. I answer some work emails. Routine, wonderful. Mundane, routine. In the afternoon, when Leo returns, we watch a movie together. Silly animation that makes me laugh. He complains that it is kid stuff, but he laughs too. And when night falls, when I tuck him in, even though he complains he is too big for that, he gives me a tight hug. Mom? Yes, thank you. Why, sweetie? For believing me. That day at the airport. If you had not believed me, but I believed you, and I am always going to believe in you. He smiles. He settles into bed. Good night, Mom. Good night, my hero. I turn off the light. I close the door. And for the first time in 5 years, I do not feel afraid of tomorrow, because no matter what comes, I know we will face it, together. And we are going to survive. Like always, we survived. Now, if you liked this story, click subscribe. And tell me in the comments which part left you with your mouth open. Oh, and do not forget to join as a member to have access to exclusive videos that I do not upload here. I will see you there.